Hey everyone, if you are tuned in and watching the replay, please comment the word replay below so I can come back and welcome you and say thank you for watching. I am just taking a couple of minutes, not even minutes, y'all, seconds to get set up here, get my comments pulled up. But folks that are watching live, hey, how y'all doing? Let me know in the chat how you're feeling on this Wednesday afternoon. How's your day? How are you feeling? It's been a rough day energy wise, I'd say. So let me know how y'all feeling. How you feeling? How you living? Okay. You all know that for some reason, whenever it comes to pressing the share button on Facebook, it takes me forever to get it together. So bear with me. Let me know how your day is going. Got it. Okay, perfect. So, hi everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for catching this live stream and our replay. Thank you for tuning in. I am really, really excited about today's session. I am honored that you're choosing to watch on this day because I know it's a lot happening and a lot going on. And I am actually saying if you clicked into this, but energetically, you are just not in a space to talk about business right now because, things are heavy and things are intense, please bookmark this for later and log off if you need to, okay? Like I understand. I feel you. I've been taking a lot of breaks throughout the day to regroup my energy myself. And I have a coaching call tonight with my clients. So I was conserving my energy for this and for that call. So I'm with you guys. But welcome to the session. Today I want to talk to you about what I call the profit puzzle. And this is primarily going to apply to those of you who have coaching programs, coaching services, whether that looks like one-on-one, group, VIP masterminds. If you are a service-based business, what I am going to say will apply to you as well. But just know that I primarily serve coaches, so you are going to hear me say coaches a lot. So in today's session, I'm going to talk to you about the core elements of a profitable coaching business. And the reason why I titled this Profit Puzzle is because oftentimes, if we are struggling with something in our business, whether that's consistent client revenue or clients re-enrolling or clients paying their bills or, our marketing or our energy or our processes, if something is off, it's typically something missing from this puzzle. And oftentimes we get very frustrated with the whole business and we indulge the overwhelm by assuming that something's wrong with the entire business versus really looking at it bit by bit, piece by piece to see what piece is in the wrong place of this puzzle. We want a beautiful picture at the end and not something that has a bunch of gaps and holes. A lot of businesses have gaps and holes. So even though some of what I am going to say is something you have heard before, I'm willing to bet that there is still going to be an aha moment for you. So just wanted to just give you that heads up. As people are coming into the room, let me introduce myself really quickly, because y'all know I will just start talking. My name is Kashaira. I am an international board certified success coach. My specialty is business coaching for coaches. I actually provide mindset and business strategy training, the full approach where you leave my programs with not only the exact strategy and skills and roadmap you need to grow an aligned coaching practice, but you also start to build and shift the mindset and the limiting beliefs you have to get to that place. My flagship program is called the Founders Circle. It's an immersive live coaching experience where you are given coaching, strategy, frameworks, templates, all of the above on growing the coaching practice that you've always dreamed of having. You can learn all about that at thefoundercircle.com or click the link in my bio. So again, today we are talking about the profit puzzle, 3 core elements of a profitable coaching business. So let's talk about the first element. Element number 1 is your messaging. Let's break down what this is and why this often tends to go wrong, right? So your messaging is not simply your Instagram bio or the homepage of your website. Your messaging is actually a huge component that drives your marketing and your overall content strategy. So your messaging is going to be embedded across all of your outlets and within all of your content, okay? So I like to think about your messaging as the clearest and most concise way that you communicate your value to another person. Note that when I say your value, I mean your business's value, because y'all already know how I feel about associating our identity and our worth with our businesses. We got to let that go. That's going to create a whole other series of problems, and that is a whole other live stream. So it's how are we clearly and concisely communicating our value to our ideal client, to our audience, to another person. Your messaging should attract the right people and repel all of the wrong ones. Right? If you notice that you are getting a surge of all of the wrong leads, that could be an indicator that your messaging is off. Now, obviously, when you're great and when you're popping, you're going to attract a little bit of everyone. But if it is consistently always the wrong person, you are always having to contour and bend and customize everything drastically, that's a sign that your messaging is off. So your messaging is the clearest and concise way of communicating what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it. It should attract the right client and repel the wrong client, right? Big mistakes with messaging that I've seen across the board. First of all, is the inconsistency. Your Instagram bio says you help people discover their passion. Your website says you help people start businesses. And when I talk to you on the phone, you're willing to do whatever it is I need. Like, that's just not, it's not aligning and it's not working out. That creates a confusing experience for the consumer. And I will tell you this, the first time the consumer gets confused, we've lost that sale. And it is very difficult to get it back. And at times you can, but first of all, you have to even be informed that you've lost it in the first place. And the average person is not going to tell you, oh, I was confused by your messaging, so that's, I'm not working with you. Like, there are people are actually nice. They're not going to say, they're just going to leave you on red or not engage with you or not book the call with you or whatever else, right? So the first time that person gets confused, we have lost the sale. So we have to be consistent. You can't sell me X on Instagram and then the website says Y. The website has to deliver on what the social media content has promised. Right? So we have to have that consistency there across the board. So we have to think about, when's the last time we have done an audit, right? Because let's be honest, a lot of us have pivoted and shifted and grown in the midst of the pandemic, and our minds have been open to new things and new passions and new interests. And so in the midst of that excitement, did you only update IG and then not touch anything else? Because now's the time to get your house in order. Okay, a lot of opportunity is coming. A lot of abundance is headed your way, but you got to get your house in order to even be in a place to receive that so it doesn't go past you, right? So then that's one mistake. Another mistake is that the messaging is way too general. The messaging is way too general, and I'm going to break this down from the place of both what you do and who you do it for. So messaging being way too general, I see this almost all day, every day on social media. Your messaging is general in the sense of, we can't really understand the value you bring because you speak in such high level terms. All you say is, I help people find their purpose, or I help people make money, or I help people find spirituality. And it's like, those are mad big topics, right? I help people get their money in order. What does that mean? Because helping somebody that's in debt get their money in order versus somebody who is not in debt but wants to start investing, get their money, like, those are two very different things. So you have to speak directly to the exact problem that you solve. And this is oftentimes a difficult process. Most of my clients spend the bulk of their time in my program. Where they spend the most time is typically in our stage 2 module, where we are defining our package, right? We're getting clear on the exact problem that our offer solves. And I'm always pushing back. It's too general, it's too general, it's too general, it's too broad. We can't really understand what that means. And then if we can't understand what that means, how are you going to deliver on that? You're going to end up with an unsatisfied client at the end of the day, because we've left the problem that we solve up to interpretation. And that's dangerous in coaching. That is very, very dangerous. We cannot leave things up to interpretation. We have to be very, very clear. When the messaging is too broad and we're not 100% sure what it is you do, we are going to keep scrolling. We are not going to engage. We are not going to slide in the DMs and ask questions and this and that. We're going to say, not for me, keep going. So you want to hone in, you want to get very, very specific. And this is going to require you to do a little bit of soul searching to figure out what's most in alignment for you in terms of a signature problem. If you are relatively new in business and or you are pivoting to coaching, you've never done coaching before, but you've had other streams of revenue, and or you are a coach but you're not making at least 5K in your business, you want to focus on a signature offer. You want to have that one core thing first. You have to get good at selling that one core thing first before you can expand. If you can't sell one thing, you can't sell five. You're going to immediately get confused and not know the cadence of how to sell, when to sell, why stress yourself out with all of that, right? Have that core signature offer, which will allow you to then define that problem. And then as your business expands, grows, and scales, if your program is good, it's going to create a new problem for you to solve. It's going to automatically birth the next thing. You won't have to worry about what everybody else is doing because it's naturally going to create that and curate that for you. So that is something that I really want you to think about. Are you creating all of these offers because it's a matter of everyone else has it? Are you creating all of these offers out of scarcity, thinking that if you don't have all of these, you're going to miss out on something, right? Or are you creating this strategically where you are following that natural process of scale and of growth? The next way that you can be too general and too broad with your messaging is when you are talking to too many people. You're talking to too broad of an audience, right? And so these two go hand in hand. If you can get very clear on the exact problem that you solve, you can get very clear on who has this problem. If the problem is too general, the audience will be too general as well. So what this looks like is not saying, oh, I know the demographics of my audience. Let's keep it 100. If you're not running paid ads, knowing their age and gender isn't always going to help, right? It may give you some inclination to reference a certain gender in your captions. You may say, hey girl, or hey guys, or whatever in your captions, but that's really it. It's not going to help you much when it comes to organic marketing. What you need to know when it comes to organic marketing is those problems and those pain points and how that manifests in that person's life in order to get clear on how your program will help them. And also it'll help you to qualify the right clients and the right leads. If you don't know who has your problem, how can you find the right client? And you don't want to end up with a roster of problem clients. I promise you, there is not enough money in the world that is worth troublesome clients. If you see a red flag, just don't even take it. I don't care how bad it is. Just keep it pushing. Don't even go there, right? So I've given you I have no edges, but my waves have waved. I'm over you. Bye. Bye. So I've talked about some of the mistakes with your messaging, but I want to just continue to reiterate your messaging should be enticing. It should be clear. It should be easy to understand. It should not be a long life story. We shouldn't have to read 5 paragraphs to figure it out. It should be consistent across all platforms and your website. We should clearly understand it. It should be relevant and prevalent within your content, right? And we teach content pillars in our program to help you to ensure that everything is weaving together and that it's consistent. It should be something that makes people want to know more. This is why I've had clients in our programs who, when they've applied our messaging formula from the founder circle to something as simple as their Instagram bio, they've had people DM them first and say, oh my gosh, I want to know what else you do and how I can work with you. I need more information. Or why someone can get on live stream and introduce themselves the way I teach them to introduce themselves, and people are already in the DMs I'm ready for an invoice. I don't even care about the price. I'm just ready to move forward. That's what strong messaging can do. It can speed up the customer journey and it can speed up the conversation. If we start off confused, we got a lot of ground to cover. It's a lot going on. So that's the first piece of our puzzle. Think about how many pieces are underneath that big component right there. There is so much to this. It is so much to messaging, and there are so many different things that can be off. And so again, my major point here is not just to take notes on what I'm saying, but again, if you are unhappy or experiencing some friction in some parts of your business, I want you to think about what pieces could be missing, what pieces could be potentially just in the wrong spot before you throw the whole business away. The second big component of a profitable and aligned coaching practice is the offer in itself. So let's unpack the offer. A couple of things that I want you to think about with the offer. And I've talked about this a lot with messaging, but I want to reiterate it. Your offer should solve one core problem. One core problem. Type that in the chat. One core problem. One thing I see a lot is that a lot of programs are promising the sun, moon, and stars. And I'm telling you now, it's just not possible. Unless it's like a long program, it is very hard to get 10 different takeaways in 6 weeks. Right? And nothing is wrong with that. Like, I don't know where that came from that you have to offer a million different things in order to have a high ticket package, but that's not the tea. Like, you need to solve the biggest problem, because I kid you not, you're the client who you're solving that big problem for, they don't even care about everything else. This is why when I was doing sales conversations, I've never in my life had to tell somebody every single thing the offer consisted of. I've had people enroll in the program without even knowing how many coaching calls they was getting, because I walked through the number one framework that's in our program that they needed to know to solve their problem. Once you can guarantee that you can solve the problem, you're good to go. One core problem. Now, how do we address all of the things we have to teach them, right? Isn't that also a problem? Like, if I say I'm going to teach you how to be a coach, don't I have to teach you messaging and packaging and coaching? Yes, I do. But do you care about all those things? Not necessarily. Your big thing, depending upon where you fit within my ideal customer avatar, your big thing could simply be, I don't know how to stand out online. I really need the messaging. Yes, the sales scripts I give you is going to be great, but right now you're not even getting inquiries. So that's not something you care about. You care about the messaging, right? So you're going to have that one core problem that you solve, and all of the other things you're going to teach to help them get to that is going to be the byproduct of that, right? That's going to be the sprinkles and the icing on the cake, but it's not the cake. And so are you still going to mention that stuff on your sales pages and things? Of course. But the problem is we want to put all of that in one long paragraph, where now it just sounds unrealistic and the person just isn't really clear on what this is truly about. It just sounds too good to be true. It sounds like everything else that they've seen, and they already skeptical anyway. So we want to make sure that we are being very, very clear on the core problem that this program solves, which is why the program isn't for everybody. But when you sell high ticket, it's number one, it's not supposed to be, and number two, you don't need volume to hit your goals anyway. So there is no need for you to have a lack mindset when it comes to this. You don't need any and everybody raising their hand for your program. You just need the right person raising their hand for your program. The other part of your offer that I see a lot of coaches not having is a coaching framework. Your coaching framework is what makes you unique and different as a coach. It's what separates two coaches who do seemingly the same thing. What makes them different? A lot of people don't have frameworks. And I don't want to say how I can tell, because I don't want to put anybody on blast. And I kind of hate this whole like approach in marketing of like, oh, shame your competition so that you seem better. And I just feel like that's kind of petty. But I will say, people who have frameworks, you can tell because that's what they teach, right? Like, that's what they teach. That's what they reference. That's what they refer. Like, if you've been following me for a while, you've heard the phrase magnetic messaging a million times. That is a framework within our program that is documented and taught within our programs. Why do I even have frameworks in the first place? There's a couple of reasons why. Number one is obviously it's what separates you from other coaches. Number two, it's one of the core ways to have a high value program, having a documented approach versus a Build-A-Bear style experience where you're either just super customizing everything to whatever they need in time, which may not be as serving to them as it sounds, or you're just straight up doing Q&A sessions and it's just straight up. But the problem with straight up Q&A without any curriculum, without any frameworks, is that the client doesn't know what they don't know. So if they don't know what they don't know, how the hell are they going to ask you questions about it? Like, that don't make sense to me and how I teach. So you need framework. So what's a framework? I have several videos on this somewhere. It's either on YouTube or Facebook. I have a lot of content, child. I don't know. But a framework is this. If your program promise is, I help coaches do X, right? I help coaches invest for the first time responsibly and safely, whatever. I'm just making this up and picking a niche that's not my specialty, right? It's what are all of the steps to get them to point A to point B? In the founder circle, we give you actual templates for this and spreadsheets and all kind of cool stuff to help map this out. But for now, just envision a map in your mind with all of these points, right? And you're mapping out all of it. The number one key here, and I'll just give you this, is you can't leave anything out. You need to document that point A to point B. I'm going to just add in here as an aside, if you don't really know what you're talking about, this is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. If you're just in business because you want to be in business, but you don't really know what you're talking about, that's going to be difficult for you. So I would go back to the drawing board and figure out what's truly your passion and your lane and your niche that you have experience in, and then come back to this. But assuming that you're an expert in what you coach on, this should be relatively easy for you to just map out. And then from there, you build out the individual frameworks that go with it. So you have to have that point A to point B, because that's going to help you to structure the program, right? Whether your program is one-on-one, VIP, mastermind, group program, it doesn't really matter the style of delivery. You still need frameworks. You have to be able to guarantee a consistent client experience. And if nothing is documented, you can't do that, right? Like you can't it's going to always be very, very different. And the other reason why I have documented frameworks on top of everything that I just said is I'm also thinking about user experience, where I can actually say, hey, here's the roadmap and here's where we are. Here's where we're going. So you're not unsure. The worst thing somebody can be in a paid program is unclear of what they're doing and what's next, right? It's one thing to be confused or just like, okay, this is all new to me, I'm overwhelmed, but to not know what's coming next and you just show up to coaching calls and it's just a surprise, like that's not necessarily the best experience. And the last reason why is for scaling purposes. At some point, you are going to need to hire other coaches, program managers, client success managers. If nothing is documented, how are you going to hire those people, right? How are you going to get them to help you out if nothing is documented? And for coaches who are watching me, I need you to expand your mind and think bigger, honey. Like this doesn't just have to be your show. I want you to think about companies like the Gallup Corporation, where they do strengths finders and they have instructors who go out and teach their stuff, or the John Maxwell Institute. We used to contract people from that institute to come and teach when I worked in HR at the bank. And John Maxwell himself never popped up. It was always somebody from the team, right? And so that's how coaching businesses scale. They scale with instructors and leads and coaches and program managers. And we don't want to think beyond that. We're so stuck on what we see on Instagram that all we can think about is, oh, we just scale with a course. Okay, that can be your destiny, but I want to encourage you to just open it up a little bit. Open up the vision. And I'm going to just tell you that even if you still want to scale with courses at some point, you, number one, need to vet your frameworks with coaching. I don't recommend going straight to a course. That's very difficult. And number two, you still need to document a framework in order for the course to be organized and make sense and give results. So either way, you still need to do this. There really is no getting out of it unless you, I don't know. I don't know what the alternative is. So yeah, that's that. Okay. The next part within the offer, after you've done your framework, is thinking about the methodology. And this is something that you probably just need to go a little bit deeper with me on, but it's a little different than the framework, because the framework is the what are you teaching? Methodology is the how are you teaching? Okay, so what's your actual coaching style? How are you actually delivering this information? How are you helping your clients go within and pull the answers out of them? The coaching industry is really structured around the answers are already within the client. It's our job to pull it out, which is why the best coaches ask the best questions. Coaches are not meant to spend the entire coaching call simply just talking. They're also meant to ask really powerful questions, and there is an art to asking powerful coaching questions and helping a client come to a realization on their own or have an aha moment on their own. So if you are going to have a hybrid style coaching program like I do, where there is some teaching, there is instruction, but there is also coaching, then you have to have a documented methodology. So one thing we're doing in the Founder Circle right now is I'm actually teaching my clients existing methodologies. I'm actually teaching them things that have been studied and researched and documented. And you don't have to use what's already out there. You can create your own. But because I do have a mix of new and experienced coaches, I want to give them something to start with where they can combine some things and just make some things work. And I have spiritual coaches and health coaches and life coaches, so they definitely definitely need that because they have to help their clients go beyond surface level. And whenever you ask a client a question, the first thing you are going to get is surface level. So, and this also applies to sales. When you get objections, you're not supposed to just start explaining, or you're not just supposed to just say, okay, bye. You're supposed to start asking questions. The best coaches ask the best questions. So that's that on that. The last two pieces, or the last three pieces here: timing, price, and measurements of success. I'm pretty sure you can look within those, but just super quick: timing, is your program long enough for you to be thorough with your teaching? And do you want your clients to have room to be successful within your programs, right? Some programs are simply meant to deliver information, while as others are structured for you to get the results right then and there. So the founder circle is structured for you to be able to execute right then and there, and also have some space to do it again and again and again before re-enrolling, so that you can actually have a safe space to try and fail and succeed and get excited and have mindset blocks and X, Y, and Z, like all in one space. You have to figure out what type of program actually makes sense for you to have. The price. Does the price match the promise? Are you promising me the sun, moon, and stars for $50? Right? Sometimes people can look at your program, think it's awesome, but then they hear the price and they're like, this is too good to be true. It's not for me. It's not for me. I know that you probably have heard that, and you probably think, oh, that's just like a tactic. That sounds cute, but that doesn't happen in real life. Yes, it does. People will turn you down if it's too cheap, because it sounds like, one, it sounds like you don't know what you're doing, and two, it makes it sound like it's too good to be true. How are you going to teach me how to have $1 million business for $97? What? I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm not trying to stop nobody's bag, but mastermind programs that are meant to teach you how to go to 7 and 8 figures start at $30,000 and above. It's not a $97 investment, because you have to invest for what you're about to get, the return on investment, and for where you are. So I want you to think about that when pricing your own programs, when you are delivering so much value. And your coaching program does not have to be one that helps people make money in order for it to be high ticket. That's another thing that I want you to think about. You don't necessarily have to be in this business, sales, marketing, coaching space in order to have a high ticket program. And then measurements of success. This is basically, how are you tracking your client progress? What kind of action items and assignments are you building in to give them space to execute? It's one thing to just tell somebody something or ask them questions, but how are you actually saying, now go out and apply this within our program and come back and tell me the results? For me, it is the best coaching happens after somebody has gone through their full launch cycle following the framework, because the questions that are asked are so much different and they're at a very different level. A lot of times the questions that come in the pre-launch phase are a lot of fear-based things, where they're like, I feel like I'm missing something, I feel like I don't have something, which I get, like, that's normal and that's why I'm here. But the types of questions change post execution, where now I have that experience under my belt and I know what I should be thinking about. So if I never actually built in the launch process as not only something that I taught, but something that I'm like, here, now go do it. Here's the homework. Here's all of the templates to go do it, and then come back with the results, I would never have that chance to really coach that thoroughly. So then what would happen? What would happen if our program was shorter and all I did was give you information and you never actually had space to do anything with it? You'd feel like you needed to hire another coach once you actually executed it, because you would have a whole new set of eyes and a bunch of new questions that you now don't have you don't have space to come and ask, because the program is done. It's over. Right? Now, of course, we can't control people who choose not to execute, like that's their prerogative. But for those that do, let's give them the space to actually execute with us by their side, right? So the third thing, if you're just coming in, we're talking about the core elements of a profitable coaching business. The third big piece is that user experience. So coaching is all about relationships. It's a relationship-based job. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're your client's friends, you're their therapist, you're not that. But there is still a rapport that has to be established between you and the client. There still needs to be some kind of trust between you and the client. And even though the client has been engaging with you on social media for some time, you're still kind of a stranger and they're still getting to know you. So that means that their perception of you is being judged at every different interaction, from the moment they've engaged with your content to the moment they go to the sales page on your site, to the moment that they schedule a call with you or register for your webinar, to the moment that they pay their invoice and get a contract and get a welcome. Like, all of these different things are points where they now can make a decision on, was this actually good for me? Did I make the right decision here? Is this someone I can actually trust? So you have to invest just as much time in that client experience from an onboarding perspective, from a servicing during the program perspective, and even in the offboarding perspective, so that there is that constant, just top tier experience. And when you are in the high ticket space, especially, you cannot slack here, right? You cannot slack here. I definitely have been in spaces where I'm like, what is this? And oftentimes a bad onboarding experience signifies what they can expect in the program. And that's just a lot to have to try to reverse. So when I say invest time in the experience, it doesn't mean that you have to spend a ton of money on it, but you do have to be intentional. You have to be very, very intentional. So, for example, something very, very simple is when someone pays their invoices, there's some kind of welcome email or welcome text that just says, hey, payment has been processed. Welcome to the client roster. Here's what's going to happen next, right? Even if that stuff isn't immediate, so that they know that they didn't just give their money away and like nothing's happened, that they're confident in knowing that, okay, I know what's coming next. I know what to expect. And that's how we all are as humans. We want to know what to expect. Even if we're not getting everything right this instant, are we clear on next steps? The moment we have to start asking too many questions, it's like, I don't know. I don't really trust you like that, right? So we have to invest just as much time and energy in that as we do our marketing. Don't just treat your clients like a cheap date where all you wine and dine them during the sales experience, but now that they actually said yes, like, they've said yes to you, now they're just a name on a roster and you don't care anymore. Like, they didn't get a welcome email, a contract, or link to the calendar, no time, like nothing, right? So invest just as much time in that, because and this is important, if you notice that you have a lot of client drop off, a lot of failed payments, clients aren't referring or re-enrolling, like that's a telltale sign there. If you have the first two things but the last one is messed up, word's going to get around, right? Like you're not going to have something very sustainable. So you want to invest in all three of those buckets. So I hope that you have found this session helpful. The profit puzzle, again, your homework is to just reflect and think about where do you have pieces that are either missing or not in the right place. And if you are ready to move forward with getting support on growing your aligned coaching practice, I encourage you to visit thefounderscircle.com. Again, that's thefounderscircle.com. It's linked in my Instagram bio, where you can learn all about our flagship program, and you can go ahead and submit an application. And then from there, we will talk about next steps. If you read it over and you have a couple of questions, you want to ensure it's a good fit, don't be shy, slide in the DMs, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you there. I will talk to you all in the next video.